Thank you, Casey. So far tonight, we have seen many different ideas on how to sustain innovation, or why we cannot innovate. For our final speaker, we learn a way to view education so that we can create an environment that promotes innovation. Alyssa Sipos is a junior at Salisbury High School. She enjoys being with her friends, swimming, and being involved in the school's fall musical. She hopes to study secondary education teaching history. Please welcome our final speaker, Alyssa Sipos, and her Sandbox Effect.
So a couple months ago, I was with my nephew, and he is a 3-year-old boy, and being a young child, of course, he has a short attention span. So after we got all of the toys out and we started playing, he decided he wanted to go to Europe for learning. And this is the way school should be. Because in our current education system, we believe that students can prosper, and it's where ideas can flow and where creativity can grow and where our success can shine. But this isn't true. We have the right mindset for school, we have the right mindset and the right goals, but we don't have the right environment. We have these standards, and we have standardized testings, and we have the need to feel control in the classroom. So we box our children in, and we limit our children by schools being bound to standards. And one of these standards is measured in grades. Grades that measure from A to F's, and where A is supposed to be the highest that we can achieve. And we should be fine with it. If we get an A on a test, we're happy. But this shouldn't be the case. We should be able to feel like we can go beyond getting this A. We should be able to feel like we can learn more outside of school. And when we go that extra mile and we learn something and go out of our way to find other information, that's when we really achieve. A higher level of standards is standardized testing. In Pennsylvania, we have the PSSAs, which are now turning into the Keystone exams. And basically, these tests are going to eventually determine whether or not we graduate. It'll be a determining factor. And just think about that. A standardized test that will force us, a standardized test that will be required to pass so we can graduate. It's kind of scary, actually, to think about this, because it's tests that our teachers aren't creating, the teachers that actually get to know us. It's a test that some unknown person is making. And if I have to graduate and pass just to pass this test, then I would focus most of my time and a lot more of my effort on trying to pass these tests than innovating or creating something new. And nationally, we have AYP, which is Adequate Yearly Progress, and this is standards for schools. And if schools don't meet these standards based on these tests, then there are different repercussions that could even close a school. So obviously these are really important. And in Salisbury, this past week, a Salisbury press release was given to the district that said how our school is pushing towards eliminating finals and midterms. And this might seem weird, but the reasoning behind it was because students would have too much testing during the times of these Keystone exams, and midterms and finals would be one of those tests. So we're trying to focus more on these tests, and we're pulling away from the individualized education that students need, and we're refocusing it on passing these state-mandated tests. And while schools focus on the tests, we're taking away from differentiation and individualized learning. But we need this, because most of us aren't going to learn the same way. We're not going to be able to innovate the same way or learn at the same speed because we're all different. For example, I can't learn from someone just lecturing me. I need to see something visually and I should be able to process it. But on the other hand, someone could listen to someone talking and pick it up right away. But in these schools, we need these different kinds of tools, different tools that help each student think, and they should be able to understand ideas. And these tools can also help us create, and schools should be able to have students should be able to have an idea and take off with it. Another point, we box in our children and we cut off our children from innovating in attempts to control classrooms. As teachers, want a sense of power in the classroom and a sense of control even. That's why we have these desks all in neat little rows with our chairs, and we have to sit there and listen, and we're usually not supposed to talk, and we have to raise our hand to speak. So this happens in most of our classes that we have. The definition of insanity is irrationality. It's waking up every day and doing the same exact thing, but wanting different results. And we have educational insanity today. We do the same things every day, at the same school, in the same classrooms, with the same teachers, and learning the same way. And most teachers have conventional ways of learning. We put students on a conveyor belt. And this occurs throughout the day as students go from class to class. But the conveyor belt also occurs on a student's career level too. And we tell them that they need to learn, and they need to pass and test and then graduate, and we put them into the workforce. So we do this over and over. We tell them to learn, take the test, pass, and graduate. Repeat, repeat, repeat. And they make us all the same. We're molding the students so they're each the same and they do the same exact things. But this isn't the case in a sandbox. In a sandbox, every single grain of sand is different. Every single one is used in some way or another, whether it's being shaped by a toy or stepped in with a foot or impressed with a handprint or written in or drawn in or anything. So for every grain of sand that is different, why should we treat our students differently? Why should we teach all of them the same speed with the same methods? Because each student has a certain interest and a good way of learning. And being in schools where we should have freedoms to innovate, we need to have the option to take ideas into our own hands. And we need to be able to create with these and be able to accent our personal improvements and our personal things that help us grow and learn. And with these right tools, we should be able to have the accessibility so students can innovate more. So let's go back to the school day, when we go from class to class, where we're supposed to come into class, into every single class, every day, and learn. And we're supposed to want to learn. And no one really cares whether we had a bad day or if something is wrong at home. We're just supposed to be ready to learn, and we sit there and we listen to a lecture and we leave. But in this time, many students get bored. I know I get bored, and sometimes I zone out during class. But we don't pay attention all the time, and I'm sure every student can vouch for that. So a sandbox gives us something that we don't see at school. It doesn't give us the monotonous day that we see. It gives us something new. And if you went to a sandbox every day for the next week, you would see something different. Something would change. Or if you went every day for a month, or every day for a year, you see a mound of sand that's different there, or sandcastle or some sand scattered somewhere, and it's new. And we need this in our schools. We need this every day in our schools. But we also need to step away from the lessons. We need to step away from learning the vocab words that are supposed to help us on the test and different ways that we can have strategies that we can use on the test, and just step away from all of it, because it's not going to help us. Most of the time, it's not going to help us. And also, we usually don't pay attention to this because we don't think that it's actually going to work. If we are paying attention, then good for you. But if you're not, most people are off in their own little world. They think about their friends or their families or some other test that they need to take soon. Or for Salisbury, who has a one-to-one ratio with students to laptops, then we play games. And one of those common games is Minecraft. Minecraft is a game that you can build things, and you can basically do anything. You can make tunnels or bridges, and I don't really know. I don't really play it, but I heard you can make bridges and stuff. And you can make buildings, and basically it's a virtual sandbox. You can do whatever you want. It's your own world, and it helps you innovate. So, as you can see, there are many pressures in schools for administrators and pressures on teachers themselves. And it's easy to put children in these confines of innovation and cutting them off from different ways that they can actually innovate. And it's easy to teach to the standards that we have to meet. But we can't let this happen. So why am I telling you that the sandbox effect is much needed now in this time? When children play in sandboxes, they do everything we want them to do, everything that we want a student to do. They play, they compete, they create, and they fail, and they succeed. And they explore and collaborate, and they create and innovate. They do everything we would want our student to do. And we need to teach our students how to do this again. We want them to do everything that a sandbox allows them to do. We need to teach our students to play in the sand again. Thank you.